guys, welcome back to my channel. Now this video was highly requested from you guys, so I hope you enjoy it. It's all about piping. So I'm going to be showing you how to create one of those piped cakes. So it's going to have lots of different piping detail all over it, and I'll do my best to explain exactly how to use each piping tip and how to decorate the cake. So before I get my cake out, I'm going to prepare my buttercream, and I thought to keep it a sort of wintry feel, so I'm going to colour my buttercream with blues, a little bit of pink, and I'm going to leave some white. So as you can see, I've got 5 different bowls here. So each bowl has my white Swiss meringue buttercream in, and as you can see, it is naturally white. I haven't added whitener. This buttercream is not only beautiful to use, but it is naturally white and therefore easy to colour, and also doesn't have that yellow tinge that some other buttercreams do as well. I did put it into bowls even though I am keeping it white, because it's always good to mix it by hand before you fill a piping bag. So I'm going to leave this bowl white, so we'll put that to the side and we'll get on with colouring the remainder. So I said I'm going to put some pink details in, but I don't want too much pink, so I'm only going to colour one bowl with 1 drop of gel food colouring to keep it really nice and pastel, and mix that in. So when you're doing these piped cakes, it's nice to have a continuous theme throughout, so choose your colour palette carefully. And when you're mixing a colour through, you're not only mixing the colour in, but you're actually knocking out air bubbles. A lot of you ask me how to get rid of your air bubbles in your buttercream, and it's by knocking it out by hand. So usually, coloured buttercream is a lot smoother because you've done that extra mixing. So that's a really nice pink. I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to shade the rest different blues. So I have a royal blue colouring here and a neon blue. I'm not going to get it neon, but I do like the shade of it. So with the neon, I'm going to put in the smallest drop I can to get a nice pastel colour. And then in another bowl, I'm going to go in with 2 drops to get it 1 shade darker. And then I'm going to use my royal blue and do 2 drops in the other bowl. As always, it's better to use gel food colouring rather than liquids to not change the consistency of the buttercream. So there I've got a beautiful pastel blue colour, which looks really nice next to the pink. Now I'm going for the stronger shade of blue, and there's actually a little less buttercream in here, so I think it will be a lot darker than the other blue. And then finally the navy. So here I've got 3 shades of blue, a shade of pink, and like I said, with the white, I'm always going to give it a mix by hand before filling the piping bag, just to knock out those air bubbles. And so now I can get my piping bags ready. So what I've got here is a variation of piping tips. And when I pipe with them, I'll tell you each name. I'll also write them in the comments below. So you can have 1 or 2 piping tips, but it is really nice to have that variation. So to fill a piping bag, I like to put the tip in first and then cut just below where I see the spikes or whatever shape it is, around the scissors, and then pull off the top. You can cut it before you put the tip in, but you are at risk of cutting it too big or too small. So then you have to adjust it anyway. So I like doing it like this. Twist the bag and then put it into a tall cup or container and then fold over the top of the bag. So firstly, this keeps your hands free, and folding the piping bag over means it doesn't dirty the top. So I've got quite a large star tip in there, so I'm going to go with a paler blue at first. I prefer filling the larger tips with the lighter colours and then doing the small details in dark colours. There isn't really any rule. You could do whatever you want, but that's my personal preference. And just spoon it in there. Now I am leaving some of this colour in the bowl because I want to do a blend of colours in a couple of the piping bags. What I'm going to do now is lift this up and then squeeze the very top of the piping bag and let the buttercream come down. Now you can obviously see there's a really small amount in here, and this is just the covering of cake, so you don't need a full piping bag full, especially because I've got about 7 piping tips here. This will give me more than enough to decorate the cake. So this twisting action is a really good habit to get into, especially if you're making macarons, for example, when the batter is loose, because then the batter doesn't come out the end. So I'm going in with my other lighter colour, which is a pink. So I've got a small star tip in this one, and like I said, I like putting the darker colours in the piping bags with the smaller tips. So I'll go in with this brighter blue. So I'm actually going to use the white for a two-tone effect. So what I'm going to do is actually take the remaining of this light blue I had and put it in the piping bag, but only up one side. And then put some white in to fill the piping bag. And then when I push the colour back through, I'm going to kind of massage it and make sure the blue and the white is coming to the end at the same time. So when I pipe it, they're going to come out together. So I have ended up with 8 piping tips, all with different shades and shapes on the end. I've actually cut to the top of the bags because they're a bit long and in the way. But I can see that altogether the colours look beautiful. They've continued this wintry theme that I'm going for. And now I'm going to get my ready crumb-coated cake and start decorating. So as usual, I'm going to show you on a 6-inch crumb-coated cake. Now, if you are new to my channel, go ahead and check out my other cake decorating videos, and I show you how to get to this stage with nice straight edges. But this is crumb-coated with a layer of Swiss meringue buttercream. And the best part about this piped cake is that it doesn't matter how experienced you are as a cake decorator, it's really easy to achieve an effective look to it. So the tip I'd like to start off with is a number 104. So it looks like a kind of teardrop shape. It's also called a petal tip, but each piping tip have specific numbers and they do specific things. So this tip is usually used for piping buttercream flowers, but it also creates some really pretty ruffles. The only thing to remember is that if you want to put this on the cake, you have to use this one first, because once you go on with the star-shaped nozzles, it's really difficult to fill in with this, but it is really easy to use and really effective. What you want to make sure is that the point of the piping tip is facing upwards, not the other way round. All I'm going to do is pipe in a straight line, but moving the piping bag left and right and keeping the pressure as even as possible. It also works along the sides. I'll start with the top. So if I just start pressing and going side to side, you get this sort of ruffle kind of shape, but it looks really cute. I'm going to show you the same on the side of the cake, just side to side. And then I'm going to continue and place these strands of ruffles all over the cake. Piping on the side is harder, so if you are new to piping, maybe practice off the cake first or on the top and then go for the sides. So right now it looks a little bit funny because I've just randomly placed these like caterpillar kind of shapes all over the cake, but trust me, the more you pipe on, the more it builds up, it will look amazing. I have the same tip but in a pink, so I'm going to do the exact same thing because like I said, I can't go back on with this tip once I start with the star nozzles. So just like before, backwards and forwards, and try and fill up the spaces. So now I can start with my star shapes. What I like to do is start off with the larger stars and then finish off and fill in little details with the smaller ones. So the first star nozzle I've got here is a very large open French tip, they're called, so lots of spikes, and they create really nice intricate stars. So I'm going to do a selection of rosettes, which are like the cupcake swirls, and some stars, which are just dots of buttercream. Both look really effective. And this piping bag also has the two-tone. So watch what happens when I start piping. Firstly, if you want to do just the stars, you simply press, stop pressing, and then release. So they're a really simple decoration, but with a mix of buttercream inside, with different shapes, it can look really effective. But if you did want to try a rosette, you basically pipe a very tight circle and then finish it off by stop applying the pressure and kind of flick off in the direction that you are piping. Now this does take practice and it's not that easy, I won't lie, but I'll show you again. Pipe in a tight circle and then flick off. Now it is a little hard for me piping on the side away from where I'm looking, but you get the idea. So I'll do a couple more on the top and then I'll go around the sides. And I do like keeping some buttercream because these big stars are an excellent filler for the end as well. So my other star tip I'm using is a 1M, a lot of bakers' favourites because it's like the traditional cupcake swirl you get out of this. And it's the same action but just a slightly different effect. So once again I'll do a rosette. And you can see the slight difference that this piping tip gives. So I've got my other two large piping tips here and I'm going to repeat the exact same thing. And what I'm doing is just gradually filling up all the spaces in the cake so I can no longer see the crumb coat coming through. So you can see I haven't even done the smaller tips yet, but the majority is filled. So I'm going to now go in with the smaller stars. So this, for example, is the Wilton 32 and this is a PME 13. Both small star tips, but slightly different, and fill in the holes with a mixture of rosettes and stars. And keep piping until the whole cake is covered. And as I mentioned before, just squeezing the buttercream onto the cake is a really good way to fill in the final bits and still looks effective. Okay, so I think I'm done. I can't see any visible part of the cake coming through. It's kind of knowing when to stop as well, but just look how effective that is. So the larger swirls you can really see and those ruffles that I started off with, but those little stars are an excellent filler and they just add to the cake. It's not as wintry as I was expecting. Maybe I could have done with a little bit more white and less pink, but nevertheless, it looks awesome. And as you can see, it really wasn't that hard to achieve. So give it a go, don't be scared. If you do try it out, I'd love to see them. So please tag me at George's Cakes on Instagram. If you are new to my channel, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and watch my other tutorials on my channel, and we'll see you very soon for more tutorials.